Have you ever felt it when something small tips you over the edge? A snide remark, a missed call, one careless word, and suddenly it is no longer about that moment. It is about every time you stayed silent, every time you held it in, and now it erupts. Anger takes the wheel. You say things you regret. You slam doors. You burn bridges. The truth is, anger does not start loud. It begins as tension, a tightening in the chest, a story forming in the mind, a sense that you were disrespected, dismissed, or ignored. But if you do not learn to catch it early, it owns you. And worse, it shapes who you become. That is why the Stoics treated anger like fire, not something to deny, but something to master. Marcus Aurelius warned, "How much more harmful are the consequences of anger than the causes of it?" Because it is not the moment that ruins you, it is the reaction. In this episode, you will discover 7 powerful Stoic lessons that go far beyond surface tips. You will learn how to transform anger from a trigger into a teacher. You will learn how to pause before you explode, how to stay composed when provoked, and how to lead your emotions so they no longer lead you. This is more than emotional control. It is about building a mind that stays sharp under pressure, a heart that holds steady when tested, and a presence that commands respect without needing to shout. Welcome to Stoic Philosophy Daily, where your story matters. Share your experience or your biggest struggle below. Every comment you leave is a gift. Here, your voice matters. We read with care, answer with heart, and treat your journey as part of our own. This is more than a channel. It is a circle of strength. Ready to turn your anger into armor? Let us begin with the first lesson. 1. Anger is not the event. It's your judgment. Anger does not come from what happens. It comes from the meaning you attach to it. A car cuts you off. A colleague disrespects you. A plan falls apart, and instantly your body reacts. Heat rises, muscles tighten. But that fire did not start outside. It started inside, with the story you told yourself about what just happened. That is why Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This sentence is a weapon against rage because it exposes the illusion behind anger. The illusion that peace depends on other people behaving correctly. The illusion that life owes you smooth roads, fair treatment, and perfect outcomes. When reality refuses to cooperate, the ego panics, and anger becomes its loudest defense. Let us break it down with a real scene. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Your mind does not just observe the action. It adds a story. "He disrespected me. People are reckless. I cannot stand this." Within seconds, your nervous system believes you are under attack. But what if you paused and questioned the story instead of obeying it? What if the driver is rushing to an emergency? What if they didn't see you? What if it has nothing to do with you at all? You do not know, and Stoicism teaches that when you do not see, you do not have the right to convict. Ask yourself this: is this moment worth my peace? Am I letting a stranger control my mood for the next hour? Because that is what anger is, a surrender of power to what you cannot control. Anger grows from the illusion of control. When we feel it slipping, we lash out. Marcus warned, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Let frustration build, and it becomes your lens. Even neutral moments begin to feel hostile. At work, someone criticizes you unfairly. The impulse is to fight back. But what does anger solve? Does it clarify, or does it contaminate? As Epictetus said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Anger does not make you powerful. Restraint does. The Stoic path is not about suppressing emotions. It is to observe it. When anger rises, you breathe. You pause. You reclaim the wheel. You remind yourself that the event is neutral, and your response defines it. And as Marcus wrote, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. Even when others make mistakes, ask yourself one question: what do I control here? Not their behavior, but my response. That is where your freedom lives. And that is how anger becomes training for self-mastery. At Stoic Daily, we believe that anger is the test that reveals your true level of self-control. Comment below: I control my judgment, not my temper. What situation triggers your anger the fastest, and what would change if you paused before reacting? 2. Mindfulness turns anger into clarity. Anger does not always explode. Sometimes it creeps in quietly. One moment you are fine, the next a single word, a small disruption, and you are spiraling. That is because most people do not notice anger until it has already taken the wheel. It is like waking up in a car you never meant to drive, speeding toward a reaction you will regret. This is where mindfulness enters, not as a buzzword, but as a shield and a steering wheel. It is your ability to stay inside the moment, to sense the rising heat without letting it burn everything down. As Marcus Aurelius put it, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. But why does anger hijack us so fast? Because most anger is layered. What appears to be rage is often fear disguised as such. Fear of disrespect, fear of being unseen. The Stoics understood this. That is why mindfulness is not a passive practice. It is intentional awareness. The ability to catch emotion midair before it hardens into reaction. Picture this moment. You are deep into a packed day, already stretched thin, and someone throws a sharp comment your way. Without mindfulness, the mind reacts instantly. How dare they? The chest tightens, the jaw locks. With awareness, something different happens. You pause. You ask one question: is this about them, or is my own stress getting in the way? That question alone can change the outcome. You realize the anger is not about their words. It is about feeling unheard, overextended, already on edge. Mindfulness is noticing the spark before it becomes wildfire. It is breathing before speaking. It is the internal warrior who catches the sword mid-draw and asks, will this strike bring clarity or only leave scars? The Stoics never said, do not feel anger. They said, do not let it rule you, try this. The next time you feel your body tighten with clenched fists, shallow breath, and a racing heart, do a silent scan. Where is the anger sitting? The jaw, the chest, the shoulders. Inhale slowly through your nose. Exhale even slower. Remind yourself, this is temporary. I do not need to act on this. I choose my timing. That breath, that pause, it breaks the trance. You move from being a prisoner of impulse to the author of your response. And the more you practice this, the faster your mind learns to recognize the storm before it hits. This is real Stoic strength, not coldness, not emotional numbness, but clarity in motion. The ability to act from groundedness instead of reflex. At Stoic Daily, we believe the storm always passes, but your response becomes who you are. Comment below. I pause. I see clearly. I choose peace. What situation would change in your life if you learned to pause before reacting? 3. The storm will pass if you let it. Anger feels eternal when you are inside it, like a thunderstorm that will never end. But step back, and you realize it always passes. This is one of the greatest truths of Stoicism. No emotion, no matter how intense, is permanent. They rise, they fall, and when you stop feeding them, they fade. Seneca wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." Emotion is not the enemy. It is the proving ground. Anger does not have to be a fire that consumes. It can be a forge that refines. Think about the last time you were truly angry. At work, in traffic, with someone close, it felt urgent, overwhelming, all-consuming. But now it is distant, faded. The emotion did not last. What remained was how you responded. That is what Stoicism trains, the ability to ride the storm without becoming it. What most people do not realize is that anger is rarely just about the moment. It is residue, old wounds, unmet needs, lingering stress. Anger becomes the mask pain wears when it does not know how to ask for help. That is why it feels so large. You are not only reacting to now, you are responding to every past moment you were silenced, dismissed, or overlooked. Mindfulness reminds us that emotions are like waves. You cannot stop them from rising, but you can choose whether to surf or drown. The Stoics practiced this through premeditation of evils, imagining adversity before it arrived, so the mind was never shocked by the tide. Try this. When anger rises, say quietly to yourself, "This too shall pass." This is a wave. Do not resist it. Watch it. Name it. Let it move through. Remind yourself, you are not the wave. You are the ocean. Anger is often an echo of unmet expectations, a tightening in the chest demanding justice. But when you give it space without judgment and without panic, it softens. It reveals its source: fear, exhaustion, pride. And once you see the root, you can release it calmly, not violently. This is not suppression. It is mastery, to feel without obeying, to listen without reacting, to remain present without surrendering control. This is how peace is protected, not with walls, but with wisdom. At Stoic Daily, we believe emotions are not chains. They are signals. The storm will come. However, you don't have to lose yourself in the rain. Comment below, "I let it pass." "I stay grounded." Share a moment where choosing calm saved you from regret. 4. Find the root, not just the flame. Anger is rarely the first emotion. It is usually the second, a cover, an echo. A loud shield is placed over something quieter and more uncomfortable: hurt, fear, disappointment. And because anger feels strong, it becomes our mask, our armor. It feels safer to be furious than to admit, "That embarrassed me," or "That made me feel small." But the Stoics taught this clearly. If you want to master anger, you must trace it to its source. Epictetus once said, "People are not disturbed by things, but by the view they take of them." So ask yourself, what lens are you looking through? What belief or expectation is feeding this flame? Imagine being criticized in front of others. The heat rises instantly. But is it really about their words? Or is it about your fear of being seen as weak? Is it about your need for recognition, your unspoken expectation of fairness? When these roots go unexamined, anger becomes your default shield, and you remain reactive, not reflective. Seneca warned, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." That means you are not only reacting to what happened, you are responding to the story you built around it. And that story often stems from ego, the fear of not being enough, not being respected, and not being safe. Try this. The next time anger spikes, pause. Write one sentence. What do I feel threatened by right now? Your pride, your control, your image, your sense of fairness. Then breathe. Ask again. Is this threat real, or is it a belief? This is where the shift happens. The moment you name the root, anger loses its hypnosis. It is like turning on the light and realizing the monster was only a shadow on the wall. The anger does not disappear, but now you are no longer inside it. You are above it. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." At Stoic Daily, we believe emotional mastery begins with self-inquiry. Trace the root of your anger and you reclaim the calm beneath the fire. Comment below. What is one trigger you have never questioned before but will now? 5. Forgiveness frees you more than them. Anger chains you. Forgiveness cuts the rope. Many people see forgiveness as a gift you give to others. The Stoics saw it as a gift you give yourself, because the truth is simple. Resentment never punishes the one who hurt you. It keeps their actions alive in your mind. You become a prisoner to a moment that has already passed. Epictetus once said, "If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation." That is the brutal truth. No one can provoke your soul without your cooperation. Forgiveness is the act of reclaiming your mind and pulling it back from the grip of what cannot be changed. So why is forgiveness so difficult? Because beneath anger lives a wound, a story that says you were wronged, that justice was denied, and holding on feels like control, like protection. However, in reality, it is the very thing that keeps the pain alive. Try this. Visualize every grudge as a stone in your backpack, every replayed memory, every imagined argument. Each one adds weight to your spine. Ask yourself honestly, what would happen if you set it down? What space would open inside you if you stopped carrying it? This is not about forgetting. It is about freeing, about making peace with the past so it no longer poisons the present. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. When you forgive, you are not excusing the offense. You are declaring that your peace matters more than punishment. Here is a practical step. Write an unsent letter. Say everything you never said to the person who hurt you. Then destroy it, burn it, tear it apart. Not for them, for you. It is a ritual of release. You may not be able to fix the situation, however, you can detach from it. At Stoic Daily, we believe forgiveness is not surrender. It is the reclamation of strength. Ask yourself, what would life feel like with nothing left to prove? No one left to fight. No anger left to carry. Comment below. I release what no longer serves me. 6. Self-control and long-term goals. You don't lose your life all at once. You lose it in pieces, one skipped workout, one angry reaction, one impulse decision at a time. That's why the Stoics placed self-control at the core of a disciplined life, not as a way to repress who you are, but as a way to protect who you're becoming. Seneca once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." That mastery begins in the invisible moments. The second you decide not to send that angry message, the pause before you indulge in something that breaks your values, the breath you take before reacting. Without self-control, you're tossed around by life's waves. With it, you're the one steering the ship. Self-control isn't about denying pleasure. It's about alignment. Aligning every action with your long-term purpose instead of momentary comfort. That's what builds strength. That's what creates freedom. Ask yourself this. How many of your regrets came from things you did too quickly, not too slowly? That heated email, that impulsive buy, that harsh word? Stoic discipline teaches you to slow down in the moment, to remember your direction before taking a step. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." This is the path of action, not excuses. Try this. Visualize your long-term goal, building a business, mastering your health, becoming more patient, and then visualize the next challenge you'll face. See yourself choosing the harder, wiser path, the one aligned with who you want to be, not how you feel in the moment. Because ultimately, your identity isn't shaped by what you dream. It's shaped by what you delay, the temptation you resisted, the emotion you didn't feed, the goal you didn't quit. Freedom doesn't come from doing whatever you want. It comes from choosing what's right, over and over again. At Stoic Daily, we believe that self-control isn't about suppression. It's about sovereignty. Every time you say no to distraction, you're saying yes to the person you're becoming. What's one small decision you can take today that aligns with your long-term vision? Drop it in the comments and commit. 7. Reflection is the mirror that removes anger. Most people think growth happens in big moments. However, the Stoics knew the truth. Real change comes from quiet reflection. When the day ends and the noise fades, that's when the real work begins, facing yourself without ego, without denial. This is what self-reflection means. Not shame, not guilt, but the calm art of asking, where was I strong? Where did I fall short? And what must I change to prevent it from becoming a pattern? Marcus Aurelius practiced this daily. He didn't just admire wisdom, he audited himself. He wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." That line is not just about gratitude, it's a call to action. If life is precious, then reactions must be intentional. Now imagine you had a rough day. Maybe you lost your temper, handled stress poorly. Most people justify or bury it. But Stoicism offers a third way. Reflect. Ask what triggered me. What would I do differently tomorrow? This kind of review isn't about replaying failure. It's about spotting patterns. The same tone, the same interruptions, the same defensiveness. Seneca said, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." Every reflection sharpens that learning. Here's how to bring this into real life. After any difficult moment, pause. Open a notes app or journal. Write 3 things: what happened, how you reacted, and how you could improve. No essays, no excuses. Then, the next day, apply just one shift. That's how change locks in. And don't just record flaws, track wins. If you stayed calm when you were the old you, where the old you would have exploded, write it down. These small victories reinforce who you're becoming. The question isn't whether life will test you, it's whether you'll learn from it. And without reflection, how can your future self be wiser than your past? At Stoic Daily, we believe self-reflection turns experience into wisdom. Comment below, "Tonight I review, tomorrow I will improve." What old reaction are you finally ready to rewrite? Walk away stronger, not angrier. Anger isn't the enemy. Misunderstanding it is. The great Stoics, Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus all said the same truth in different words. You may not control the storm, but you always control the captain, and that captain is you. It's not things that upset us, Epictetus taught, but our judgments about things. That shift in perception, that one mental pivot, is what turns fire into fuel. Patience is your shield. Reflection is your compass. And self-control is the blade that cuts through the noise. You're not here to be perfect. You're here to choose better, one moment at a time. The next time you feel that familiar surge of heat, don't suppress it. Pause. Watch it. Ask, what does this emotion want me to do? And who do I become if I listen to it? In that gap, you reclaim your strength, not by winning an argument, but by walking away with peace still intact. Because that's the goal, not just to manage anger, but to master yourself. At Stoic Philosophy Daily, we believe that emotional mastery is not about control. It's about clarity, about choosing your response with courage, not chaos. If this episode sparked something in you, share it. Comment below. I lead with clarity, not chaos. Let's continue to build this circle of strength together.
If you're seeking more, discover the full path on my channel, Stoic Philosophy Daily.